a tiny nation carved into the very edge of the Mediterranean Sea, a place so small that many people can cross it in less than an hour. Yet so famous that the entire world knows its name. And despite its size, Monaco holds a level of wealth that feels almost unreal. Here, luxury isn't an exception, it's the norm. Almost every street is lined with high-end cars, polished marble buildings, and a level of refinement that most countries only dream of. But behind this glittering paradise lies a history few people ever hear about, a history filled with conflict, ambition, and a struggle for survival on a scale far greater than its tiny borders suggest. To understand how Monaco became one of the richest places on earth, we must first explore the extraordinary forces that shaped it, forces of geography, politics, and sheer determination. And to truly understand Monaco's story, we must travel back in time, to an era when this glamorous nation was nothing more than a lonely rock rising out of the sea. A barren, windswept cliff, strategically placed, but with no guarantee of survival. It was a place worth fighting for, but barely livable. For centuries, powerful European families battled for control over this small outpost, seeing beyond the rock itself and recognizing its incredible value as a gateway to the Mediterranean. And among these families, one would leave a mark so deep that it still defines Monaco today, a family whose name has become synonymous with the principality itself. The Grimaldi, a dynasty that would shape Monaco's fate for more than 7 centuries. In 1297, he launched one of the boldest maneuvers in medieval history, a daring plan that would transform this rocky outcrop into a powerful stronghold. Disguised as monks seeking shelter from the cold night, François Grimaldi and his men approached the gates of the fortress with quiet footsteps. The guards, believing they were welcoming harmless travelers, opened the heavy wooden doors without hesitation. But the moment the gates parted, everything changed. The Grimaldi soldiers dropped their robes, revealing hidden weapons, and launched a swift and decisive ambush. The fortress guards were overwhelmed before they even understood what had happened. And in that single, brilliant strike, the Grimaldi seized control of the rocky stronghold. This clever act of deception would mark the beginning of Monaco's rise, and the start of a dynasty that would rule for more than 700 years. After François Grimaldi captured the fortress in 1297, Monaco's story took a dramatic turn. What had once been a barren rock became a symbol of hope, ambition, and survival. But taking the fortress was only the beginning. Keeping it was an entirely different challenge. The early 1300s were chaotic. Powerful families from Italy and France fought endlessly for control over the region. Monaco, though small, sat at a crossroads of trade and military strategy. Everyone wanted it, and the Grimaldi had to defend it again and again. Several times, rival powers successfully took the fortress. But each time they did, the Grimaldi regrouped, rebuilt alliances, and returned stronger. Their determination became legendary, a family that simply refused to disappear. Why were they so determined? Because Monaco wasn't just a rock, it was a gateway. Controlling Monaco meant controlling a slice of the Mediterranean trade routes, granting access to wealth, influence, and military advantage. Throughout the 14th and 15th centuries, Monaco evolved from a basic fortress into a small but significant principality. The Grimaldi family strengthened their rule through diplomacy, marriage alliances, and calculated political moves. They weren't just soldiers, they were strategists. By the 1500s, the political landscape of Europe was shifting rapidly. Larger nations were swallowing their neighbors, and small states were disappearing. The Grimaldi realized that if Monaco was to survive, it needed powerful friends. That's when Monaco formed a major alliance with Spain. The Spanish Empire, at its height, provided military protection and political legitimacy. In exchange, Monaco supported Spain's interests along the coast. But alliances come with consequences. Over time, Monaco's dependence on Spain made it vulnerable, limiting its freedom and pulling it into conflicts it never asked for. Then everything changed with the French Revolution. Monaco was absorbed into France. The Grimaldi were exiled, and for a moment, it seemed the tiny principality might vanish forever. But history had other plans. After Napoleon's defeat, Monaco was restored, and the Grimaldi family returned to reclaim what was theirs. But Monaco's modern transformation, the version of Monaco the world recognizes today, didn't simply happen by chance. It began with a ruler who refused to accept the limits of geography. A man who looked at a nation barely 2 square kilometers in size, and still imagined greatness. This was Prince Charles III, the visionary who would lay the foundation of Monaco's future. Charles III understood something no other European ruler realized at that time. If Monaco could not expand its land, then it needed to expand its identity. And so, he crafted a bold plan to turn Monaco into a destination. A place of elegance. A place of entertainment. A place where wealth didn't just arrive, it stayed. And in 1863, the cornerstone of Monaco's rebirth was unveiled. The Monte-Carlo Casino. A masterpiece of architecture, towering over the sea like a promise of fortune. Carriages lined the streets. Nobles traveled from across Europe. And for the first time, the world looked toward Monaco with fascination. But more than a building, the casino became a lifeline. Monaco, once a struggling micro-state with no resources, now found itself at the center of high society. Money flowed in, fortunes were made and lost. And the principality was finally able to stand on its own. The world took notice. Suddenly, Monaco was no longer just a rock in the Mediterranean. It was a symbol, a haven for the wealthy, a playground for the elite, and a destination for those seeking beauty, escape, and the thrill of possibility. Ships arrived with aristocrats from London, Paris, Vienna, hunting for the kind of luxury that existed nowhere else. And year after year, Monaco's reputation grew, as if the tiny principality had rewritten its fate. But even as Monaco flourished, a quiet truth lingered beneath the glamour. The principality still faced a problem that no casino, no luxury guest, and no noble visitor could fix. Monaco remained impossibly small. 2 square kilometers. A nation so tiny that its future could be shaken by the smallest economic shift. The world around Monaco grew rapidly, industries exploded. Railways connected empires, and technology reshaped Europe. But Monaco had no farmland, no factories, no exports. Nothing to fuel growth except tourism, hope, and the ambition of its rulers. And yet, the Grimaldi persisted. They learned to adapt, survive, and reinvent the principality again and again. Each generation faced challenges that could have erased Monaco from the map. But instead, they carved a future out of determination. Then came a turning point, one that would change Monaco forever. The world entered a new age, faster communication, rising global wealth, and a hunger for entertainment unlike anything before. Monaco was perfectly positioned and ready. The principality expanded its cultural identity. The Opera House, designed by Charles Garnier, the same genius behind the Paris Opera, brought unmatched elegance to Monaco. Suddenly, the tiny nation rivaled Europe's grandest capitals. With culture came prestige. And with prestige came opportunity. Monaco introduced events, concerts, artistic performances, drawing Europe's elite not just to gamble, but to experience a unique blend of art and luxury. But the greatest transformation of all, the one that would place Monaco permanently on the world stage, was still yet to come. Because in the years ahead, a miracle of engineering would reshape Monaco's destiny. Reclamation. A bold idea. If Monaco had no land, it would build its own. From the sea, piece by piece, Monaco pushed back the sea. New land was created, new districts were born. And Monaco, once trapped by its size, began to grow. Fontvier, Larvotto. Each new district stood as proof of Monaco's determination. What other nations saw as impossible, Monaco turned into reality, reshaping its coastline, its economy, and its future. But the world wouldn't truly fall in love with Monaco until the arrival of a woman whose name would redefine royalty. A Hollywood star, a global icon, and a future princess. When Grace Kelly married Prince Rainier III, the world watched in awe. This wasn't just a royal wedding. It was a global event. Hollywood met royalty, and Monaco became a symbol of beauty, romance, and modern fairy tales. From that moment on, Monaco's image transformed forever. No longer just a casino kingdom or a reclaimed coastline, but a glamorous symbol recognized across the world. A place where royalty, cinema, and history intertwined to create one of the most compelling national stories ever told. But Monaco's rise wasn't just about glamour and fame. Behind the spotlight, the principality was quietly building something far more powerful. A new kind of economy. An economy built not on land or resources, but on opportunity. As Europe modernized, Monaco discovered a new advantage: its sovereignty. While larger nations struggled with taxes, bureaucracy, and political instability, Monaco offered something rare: stability, privacy, and financial freedom. By the mid-1900s, Monaco had become a haven for entrepreneurs, investors, and global elites searching for stability in a rapidly changing world. And what Monaco lacked in size, it made up for with intelligence, strategy, and vision. But while business shaped Monaco's economy, another force would reshape its identity on the world stage. A force powered not by money, but by speed. In 1929, the Monaco Grand Prix was born. A race unlike any other. A high-speed battle through narrow streets and tight corners, set against one of the most beautiful backdrops on Earth. The Grand Prix became a symbol. A perfect mixture of danger, prestige, and engineering excellence. And year after year, millions watched Monaco not just as a race, but as a spectacle. A celebration of human ambition. And so, by the late 20th century, Monaco had reinvented itself again. A nation once defined by a rock and a fortress had become a global icon of luxury, performance, and prestige. But beneath all this glamour lay a strategy far more brilliant than most realized. Monaco wasn't simply attracting the wealthy. It was building an ecosystem designed for them. An ecosystem that made staying in Monaco not just desirable, but irresistible. No income tax, no capital gains tax, and some of the strongest financial protections anywhere in the world. Monaco didn't just offer luxury. It offered security, the one thing the wealthy value most. And with stability came growth. New residents, new businesses, new developments. Each one adding to a nation that seemed to defy every rule of geography. But perhaps the greatest achievement of all is that Monaco never lost its identity. Despite the wealth, the races, the luxury, the spirit of a small, determined nation remained. A nation built on strategy. A nation built on resilience. A nation that proved size does not determine destiny. Today, Monaco stands as one of the wealthiest nations on Earth. Not because of its size. Not because of its resources. But because of its people. Their vision, their courage, and their refusal to accept limitations. And so, from a lonely rock in the Mediterranean to a global symbol of wealth and prestige, Monaco remains proof of a simple truth. Greatness isn't about how much you have. It's about what you do with what you have.